Okay, I'd like to call to order this business meeting of the Governing Board of the Cave Creek Unified School District number 93. Today is Monday, August 10th, 2020. Roll call, the 5 members of the board are present and 3 members of the executive leadership team are present. Item 1.3, formal adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second, Rich.
Okay. All those, the roll call vote, Member Brown,
Aye.
Busby,
Aye.
Hatcher,
Aye.
sorry, I'm an aye, Rich.
Aye.
Okay, item 1.4, if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1.5, the Governing Board Secretary will review comments submitted by members of the public. Ms. Scotto, we do have comments coming later, correct?
Yes, we do, President Hill.
Okay. Item 1.6, President's Report. I guess my report is so far, I have a student that is doing the distance learning and things seem to be going well. So thank you to the high school staff and teachers. We are very fortunate that we haven't had any issues. So I'm very pleased with how it's going so far. And that's kind of the only thing I have. Do we have any other comments from the board? Okay.
No, I would just like to thank the teachers and staff who have begun their first week. I know I've spoken with a couple of them and I know that they have literally been glued to their computers doing their work with their students. So I thank them very much.
Okay. Item 1.7, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, President Hill, Governing Board members, and those of you that are out there listening. I want to also thank all of the staff that have made this past week memorable, unique, and fantastic. We have had such great response from families. There were a few glitches the first day, and everybody was patient and worked through it. And I have to say that our IT team, as well as any of our teachers and staff, everybody had joined together to make sure everything was as smooth as possible. And when it wasn't, they got it figured out. So thank you to everyone. I also want to congratulate Nancy Pratt, who's our Director of Instruction and Innovation. Now, Dr. Pratt has successfully defended her dissertation at Grand Canyon University, and she is an example of lifelong learning. Also, the Carefree Cave Creek Chamber of Commerce is proud to announce the winner of the 2020 $3,000 scholarship to a Cactus Shadows student that graduated last May, Allison Tobin. Allison was selected from a group of 17 applicants. She had an unweighted GPA of 3.8. Weighted, it was 4.57, and she'll be attending ASU studying law and philosophy. So congratulations to Allison Tobin. And that's my report.
Okay, item 2, public comments. According to ARS 38-431.01H, governing board members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public. The only allowable responses a governing board member may make are 1, board member may respond if there is direct criticism of the board member. 2, board member may direct staff to look into a matter. Or 3, board member can ask to have this item placed on a future agenda. Speakers need to be mindful of what they say when presenting to the board. Inappropriate comments could be considered slanderous. So for item 3, presentations, information, and reports. Ms. Scotto, do we have any comments for these items?
Yes, President Hill.
Okay. Item 3.1, tax credit expenditures for January 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2020. Before I have Mr. Leedy present, do we have any questions or comments on that item?
No, President Hill.
Okay. Then the tax credit expenditures presentation will be presented by Mr. Leedy. Oh, and could I ask when they're doing the presentations before their comments, if we could also, board members, actually, I think most of us are, just make sure we mute since we move papers around. Mr. Alidi.
Thank you, President Hill, members of the board, Dr. Burdick. The attached represents an outline of major categories of expenditures from the tax credit funds for the period of January 1st through June 30th of 2020. And the report, as you can see, the total expenditures were $315,684.03. And for revenues, we do have, since the deadline has been extended to April 15th. We do have a report on the website that illustrates the revenues for 2019. We will be updating that as we reach the deadline for the current year.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lady. Item 3.2, Cave Creek Unified School District Focus, presented by Dr. Miller. Ms. Scotto, do we have any comments for 3.2?
Yes, we do, President Hill.
Okay.
The first comment is from Emily Petty of Cave Creek. Thank you to Dr. Burdick and to the board for discussing the important data as it relates to opening schools that was just released by the Arizona Department of Health. I urge CCUSD to commit to adhering to the published safety metrics to determine when it is safe to open schools. As recommended by both the state superintendent and the governor, Maricopa County is headed in the right direction, but we are not there yet. According to the report published on Friday by the New York Times, Maricopa County is down to a weekly average of 170 COVID-19 cases per 100,000 residents. That is wonderful news when compared to a month ago, and yet the matrix, in order to safely open, demand 10 cases per 100,000 residents. Even in just the tiny 85331 zip code, we are not yet close to that number. In order to reach the goal in Cave Creek alone, we would need to have no more than 3 positive cases per week in order to declare that community spread is contained in our area. Especially because physical distancing will not be a possible precaution to take in district schools, it is more important than ever to wait to open our schools until community spread is minimal. We all want our kids and teachers to get back into the classroom as soon as it is safe to do so. Now that we have set measured statistics as a goal, we can continue to work together as a community by avoiding large gatherings, wearing a mask in public, and practicing sanitation and hygiene in order to attain these metrics and open schools safely. Thank you. That's the end of that comment, President Hill.
Okay, this next comment is from James Sauer. It does not say the city, but it is an 85281 zip code. And Mr. Sauer says, the average high school teacher comes in contact with 150 students in a typical day. The 7-day rolling average of COVID-19 cases in Arizona has been at or above 2,000 new cases per day since June 20th, a mere month after we reopened stronger. Please delay the start of in-school instruction until scientific metrics and benchmarks indicate that both students and teachers can safely return to the classroom. I ask that you please consider the lives of those most vulnerable as you make life-altering decisions for both our education community and the community at large.
The next comment is from David Simmons, founder and executive director of the UBU project and a CCUSD community partner. He's in Peoria. As a friend and colleague of the CCUSD schools, I implore you to delay opening CCUSD schools until scientific data-driven benchmarks as created by Governor Ducey, the Arizona Department of Education, and the Arizona Department of Health and Safety indicate that it is safe for students, teachers, admin, volunteers, staff, custodial, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, food servers, and all CCUSD employees and partners. In addition to my work with and for the schools of CCUSD through my positions as production manager and education director for Desert Foothills Theater, and as founder, executive director, and teaching artist for the UBU project, I have also been working in partnership with special advisory boards and committees with the Arizona Department of Ed to help create safe and healthy reentry, reopening policies and procedures for all Arizona schools and districts. Just recently, I sat in on a webinar along with an additional 950 AZ education professionals led by the Arizona Department of Health and Safety and the ADE. According to their data-driven scientific metrics and benchmarks, there is not one school or district in the state of Arizona that is within the COVID-19 safe zone for in-person learning. Maricopa County is a leading hotspot for COVID-19 in the state, region, and country. Reopening for in-person learning before it is truly safe leaves you, as a governing board, at risk and reciprocal for creating a potentially lethal community health crisis, even greater than the one in which we now all live. Your students, all of us really, are living in a time of global crisis and trauma. Please do not exacerbate that crisis and trauma by opening the schools of CCUSD before the data-driven scientific benchmarks and matrix have been met, including the AZDHS recommended waiting period following the prescribed safe period. I implore and beseech you to listen to the true experts in this field and not to the uninformed, well-intentioned masses who simply want to get the kids out of the house. To do anything less is unconscionable. There is no question that we all want to get the schools up and running for all involved. However, only when it is scientifically data-driven and research-based to do so. Thank you for your time and attention in this matter and for your unswerving service to the committee. With respect and deep concern, Dave Simmons. That's the end of Mr. Simmons' comment.
So did we just have 3 comments on 3.2?
No, I apologize. I was
Oh, okay.
muted. I will
Okay.
start over. This comment is from Marianne Moriarty, and she is from Scottsdale. On August 6th, the Arizona Department of Health Services suggested 3 benchmarks that might be met in order to open schools. However, these are not mandated. At the very least, would you vote that all 3 benchmarks would have to be met for 2 consecutive weeks before opening CCUSD schools? Evidently, you are not considering social distancing, having staff keep children safe by taking their temperatures before admitting them to schools, cohorting the elementary classrooms, mandating masks for all students, etc. That is the end of this comment.
The next comment is CCEA on behalf of CCUSD teachers. This was written by Lori Hart and submitted by Katie Angeli, Cave Creek, Arizona. Dear governing board members and Dr. Burdick, we are writing today on behalf of teachers in the district to express our concern about returning to the workplace prior to meeting reasonable public health official safety recommendations. As committed educational professionals, we are all anxious to return to our classrooms, but are not ready to do so until we can be guaranteed of the safety of students, teachers, and staff. Our hope is that medical professionals will decide when to return, not politics. We recognize that there are differing ideas about when it is safe to return. Our request is that the decision be made by public health officials who are the experts in the field and do not have conflicting motivations for reopening too quickly. We want to do this the right way, the safest way possible to avoid spreading the disease. We understand that when the conditions are appropriate, it may make sense to have students physically on campus, but mandating schools to reopen when the spread of the disease in the community is substantial goes against recent recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Currently, according to the latest numbers from the CDC, Arizona is ranked the 6th highest state in the US for COVID, and Maricopa is the 2nd highest county. Now is not the time to make mistakes. There are many considerations to take into account that we do not feel have been addressed adequately. For example, a critical component to a safe return is to decrease class size, which would allow for social distancing. The risk involved with having 35 or more students in one classroom, even with masks, does not meet minimum safety guidelines and could be argued as reckless. While we are committed to providing the best possible education to our students, we are not willing to put any members of the school community at risk of infection. Instead of focusing on an arbitrary date to return to work, we ask that certain agreed upon guidelines be met. For example, a group of Arizona school leaders and physicians has released a list of benchmarks full of guidelines are available online, including adequate testing, viral PCR testing with a positivity rate of less than 5%. Testing resources should be available to students and staff, available same day and for all age groups. Less invasive methods are preferred for pediatric populations like saliva and finger poke testing. Consistent downward trajectory of cases over a 28-day period with 7-day running averages. Adequate hospital beds and staffing able to treat all patients without crisis surge capacity. Adequate PPE supplies for all educators and staff members. Minimum risk of community spread which could result in repeated school and business closures. Clear guideline of educational and isolation expectations when a student or staff member becomes positive, as well as being exposed outside of school. Even with social distancing and masks, great risks remain for students and teachers who return to school. Just last month, 3 Arizona teachers who shared a classroom. That is the end of those comments.
The next comment is from Stephanie Liberatore in Scottsdale. I very strongly feel that you need to take into consideration medical and scientific data when choosing the date to safely reopen our schools. It is not right to put our teachers, staff, students, and families at risk by reopening too soon. My second grader is currently in a class of 37 students who will not be able to social distance at all. As much as I would like for my children to return to school for social reasons, we cannot ask that our teachers risk their lives to teach our children face-to-face until we meet the benchmarks given by the state superintendent. That completes this comment.
This next comment is from Allison Summer of Cave Creek. I strongly believe that you must take into consideration medical and scientific data, as well as the data from surrounding zip codes when deciding to reopen our schools. I'm asking you to delay the start date. At our school, about 50% of the students come from outside the school boundaries. This year, my child has been placed in a class of 37 students for the school year. Being a room with 37 children, there will be no room to social distance once face-to-face schooling resumes. We need to protect our teachers and our staff. That is the end of that comment.
The next comment is from Stacy Leschner of Cave Creek. I am writing to ask that you take into consideration not only the medical and scientific data from our surrounding zip codes, but also the medical and scientific data from surrounding zip codes when deciding to reopen our schools. 50% of the students at the elementary school my children attend come from outside the district boundaries. My child has been placed in a class of 37 students for the school year. Being in a room with 37 children, there will be no way to even remotely attempt social distancing or even have all the children facing one direction in the classroom. It is imperative that if we are to start in person, the least you can do is ensure that we are actually in the green area of the metric prior to reopening. We all want our kids back in school, but rushing to reopen prior to meeting the recommended guidelines is not only adding too much risk to the teachers, their families, and our kids, but also setting us up for yet another district-wide closure. That is the end of that comment.
The next comment is from Amanda Dahl in Phoenix. Please allow students to return in person on September 8th. I am a mom of 2 CCUSD students. I am a former Arizona teacher. I am not a doctor, scientist, or medical expert. I come to you today as a mother who has seen changes in my children who have not had regular contact with peers over the last 6 months, who are experiencing feelings and emotions too big for their young minds to comprehend. There is no scientific data on this. I just know my children. I am all too sure that over the next 5+ years, the social, mental, and emotional effects of COVID will rise to the surface, mainly for our children. One constant for most children is school. It can be so many things to a child. Far beyond learning, it can be a place to grow socially and emotionally. It can even be a safe place for students if home is not their refuge. I watched my older child struggle through emotions and lack of personal contact in an effort to complete last semester. He responds well to flexible seating options and picks up concepts fairly easily, but seeing faces through a computer screen causes numerous distractions, restlessness, and lacks an element to learning only received in person. True discussion over new concepts cannot naturally occur and is actually limited on Zoom. My child is also part of the Mandarin Immersion program. We chose the program specifically. True language immersion cannot happen through a screen or any distant learning format. We keep telling our children to hang on just a little longer, but the emotions and questions they have to wrestle with show the signs that enough is enough. If the state is allowing schools to reopen with safety protocols in place, please do not delay out of fear. Teachers asking to postpone opening, I ask you to look within. Is this truly best for the students? When you first had your own classroom, did you long to get a shadowed glimpse of your students through a screen? The element of personal interaction is unmatched. Learning a student's personality and fun quirks, witnessing the light bulb go off on a concept they have struggled with, having a class inside joke, a class dance move, and more there that is only possible in person. When a teacher truly loves what they do, their classroom is a magical place for their students. For teachers who feel at risk, the online education sector is booming. Your amazing talents are 100% needed. Governing Board, I implore you, please let our students return in person on September 8th. That is the end of those comments.
The next comment is from Jill and John Robinson from Cave Creek. We are in the opinion that schools should base reopening on a scientific medical data only. We do not believe schools should reopen based on political agendas. We also believe that it is in everyone's best interest to push back the date of in-person school till after the end of the first quarter. Thank you. That is the end of that comment.
This next comment is from Winnie Sarabia of Cave Creek. I'm writing to ask that our district and its leadership takes medical and scientific data into consideration prior to reopening our district for in-person learning. We should not open unless all metrics set forth by Arizona Department of Health and Safety can be met at the no to minimal level, AKA green category. We need to consider the data from surrounding zip codes when deciding to reopen our schools, as many of our student populations are from outside school boundary. Our teachers, vendors, and district employees who are allowed on campus daily may not reside within our own district boundaries either. The Department of Health also demonstrates in their infographic a new school day, spacing desks apart 6 feet where feasible. Our school space and resources does not allow for this setup. Currently, some of our classes are already at or exceeding capacity. It is imperative that we are in the green for all the metrics based on medical and scientific data prior to reopening consideration. That is the end of her comments.
This comment is from Blake Bradshaw of Cave Creek. As a former student and friend of many teachers in the CCUSD community, I urge the governing board to delay the start of in-person instruction until scientific metrics and benchmarks show that it is safe for both students and teachers to return to the classroom. The unnecessary infection or death of any CCUSD community member is unacceptable, and the resumption of in-person instruction is an irresponsible risk that prioritizes profit over the health and well-being of our entire community. CCUSD teachers have impacted the lives of thousands of students, many of whom are still community members, and we owe them better than placing them at such risk. Thank you for your time. And that is the end of that comment.
I believe this is the last comment, President Hill. This is from Nancy Clay, Phoenix. Dear board members, my husband and I have a daughter who teaches at your school. For us, taking COVID-19 seriously and being over 70 means that if a class is in session without meeting the metrics, we will not be able to see our daughter. The risk of transmission is too great. Teaching in person will present a lonely holiday season for all of us during an already stressful time. And I believe that concludes the comments for item 3.2.
Okay, item 3.2 is presented by Dr. Miller.
President Hill, governing board members, and Dr. Burdick. Every year we bring the Cave Creek Unified School District Instructional Focus to share with you as a presentation. And this document has morphed over the years. And this is a document that you will see in every classroom, most of the school offices, at the district office. And it really is what guides the teaching and learning in the classroom. And our 3 areas of focus, you can see it's very secular, and Not all of these things happen at one time in one particular classroom, but we want all of our students to be actively engaged in learning. And we do this through cooperative learning and personalized instruction. We want to utilize integrated technology to enhance learning, not as the teacher, but as a teaching tool. And then we have advanced world languages so that we can prepare all of our students for a global economy. And you know, a lot of school districts talk about preparing kids for a global economy, and Cave Creek Unified really does that. So again, this is a document that's prepared for the classrooms, and as much as possible during our distance learning and online learning, we still continue to try and utilize this instructional focus in the way that we present information and learning for kids. So this is just a presentation, and I know that you have seen this before, but we wanted to bring it back again this year. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Do we have any questions or comments?
I do have a question. With this plan, it's all being integrated to online learning?
We're using this as our focus. However, this was designed for the classroom in-person learning. So as much as possible, I know that our world languages look a lot different when it's online. Student engagement looks a lot different. However, this is what we would like to see with online learning as well, but it looks completely different. I would have to say that the integrated technology, this has probably given us a little bit of an extra push. And so I know that there were a lot of people that were apprehensive about some instructional technology that are like, I can do this. And with a little extra help, they can. And that's not just teachers, that's all our support staff and our students.
So whenever our classrooms are open, is there going to be like a phase in to get all of to phase in going from this online to an in classroom, or is it just you're going from one to the other? Because they're different modes of learning.
Exactly. And I remember, Busby, I think we're going to see a lot of transition time to go from the online learning. And one reason that we've utilized Canvas as a learning management system is so that as we transition back, and in the case if we had to transition back to distance learning, that would be a smoother transition.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
I said thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And of the public comments that were read, there were 3 that stated they're in classrooms with 37 students. Will I know we just started school, but will staff have a chance then to provide the classroom breakdown for us at the next meeting?
Yes, Member Brown, and I believe Dr. Burdick has that information, will be coming soon as far as class sizes and things like that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Item 3.3, online resources and curriculum presentation presented by Dr. Miller. Ms. Scotto, do we have any comments on item 3.3?
Yes, we do, President Hill. Dr. Burdick, would you like to start?
Yes. The first comment is from Pam Ruckus from Cave Creek. President Hill, Dr. Burdick, Dr. Miller, and board members. We wanted to give a shout out to the whole district on how hard everyone worked this week to make the impossible possible. Kudos. A special thank you to both Lori Umbarger and Toya Abrams for answering and clarifying our unending questions. We also wanted to say how impressed we've been with the AOE option that one of our children is attending. From the impressive amount of communication from the teaching staff to the curriculum, we are very pleased with this choice. The teachers have been so immediately responsive to the questions our daughter has, and they have scheduled an hour-long Zoom call with each of the grades individually on Friday to help answer questions and clarify anything for those students who needed it. The AOE teachers have been working around the clock on making sure all classes were loaded properly, all parents understood how to help their student. They've been available to us to ask questions and have really been an integral part of the success of this option. We feel in such good hands and could not feel more supported. We know the option was well underway before the pandemic and wanted to say thank you for giving us this online district option as it's offered in many neighboring districts. The option for our youngest kept us in this district. We also thank you in advance for using the Arizona Department of Health Services metrics for reopening the schools in this district. This will prove to be a safe and accurate way to reopen our schools safely. Thank you for your time. That is the end of this comment. The next comment is from Serena and Jeremy Seibenaler. I apologize if I did not say that correctly, of Cave Creek. It has been brought to our attention that there has been discussion to continue virtual learning past the originally planned school reopening date of September 8th, 2020. Respectfully, we understand the state of fear, but our families feels this will impose greater and substantial loss to our children's academic growth, emotional intelligence, and social well-being. We have 3 elementary school-age children. Our daughter is on an IEP to develop SPOT and her ability to sit and attend due to ADD. Our other child is in the PALS program, which entails a significant amount of goals, both academically and socially. It is impossible for him to sit 5 days a week without one-on-one instruction in a virtual setting, which will include Zoom meetings for teacher instruction and school services. We are grateful that the district is allowing him to return to school this week with 4 hours of face-to-face learning. His classroom makeup consists of only 11 students, which is small enough to accommodate face-to-face learning with a SPED teacher, paraprofessionals, and school service staff with safe practices. We have now been forced to purchase supplemental resource material for his educational needs as he cannot sit and learn virtually. We are proposing that the district consider at the least an option for an A, B, and/or C rotation during the school year if returning to brick and mortar plans are not feasible. Currently, there are Fortune 500 corporations that are using this strategic plan to ensure their employees are staying productive and provided opportunities to meet face-to-face to ensure their emotional and social well-being is met. Providing this rotation will allow smaller class sizes to ensure caution, proper sanitation practices, and the wearing of masks. We love our children, our schools, and our teachers and staff. But if a decision is made to prolong the virtual learning environment indefinitely this school year, it will be more detrimental for our children's future and the parents that need to provide for them. Thank you for this consideration. That is the end of that comment. The next comment is from Stephen O'Connor of Cave Creek. As a graduate from the CCUSD School District, former governing board member as student body president and friend of many teachers in the CCUSD School District, I am writing to implore you to delay the start of in-school instruction until scientific metrics and benchmarks indicate that both students and teachers and district support staff can safely return to the classroom and campus. What's the point of sending kids to school if when those kids graduate and become scientists, we don't listen to them once they become an expert in their field? I have asthma, and if I worked for the district, I would be afraid for my life and be forced to be returning to an unsafe work environment. Think of the teachers and support staff. Do what's right for your employees. Respectfully, Stephen O'Connor, Cactus Shadows High School, class of 2006, student body president. And that is the end of that comment.
The next comment, President Hill, is from Shauna Melton of Cave Creek. I would like to start by saying I understand you all feel you are doing what is best for the children. However, my husband and I feel we need to get these children back into the schools. We understand that there are safety concerns for COVID-19, but there needs to be safety concerns for the children's mental health as well. These kids rely on being in a classroom with peers to flourish and grow. There are enough of us parents out here that want our children back in the classroom, so please listen to us. By not allowing the children back, you are not only hurting the children, you are hurting all working parents. If parents cannot work, the tax dollars to the schools suffer as well. Let the families that want to return sign a waiver to do so and get these children back in the classrooms. We are a first responder family that is on the front line, so we are very aware of the risks. We are willing to take this risk because we know that it is more important for the children to return than for adults to live in fear of what if. Thank you for your time. The next comment is from Abby Basnet of Cave Creek. Thank you to the board for reading my comment. I'm writing to you today to say how much I appreciate the district providing so many great online learning opportunities for all the students of the district this year. For my family, school online is an absolute necessity for health reasons this year. We are so thankful to have all of these amazing and comprehensive programs to allow us to still get a quality education from our excellent CCUSD staff. The learning being done in these programs is only possible in conjunction with the facilitation of our teachers and administrators. Not only do the teachers keep us on track and provide assistance, intervention, and enrichment when needed, but they keep us engaged and active within the CCUSD community. We have been beyond happy with the teachers in the AOE program this year. These teachers have been communicating with us exceptionally well and have quickly been able to pivot and make any necessary changes to work best with our families within this new environment. I am so thankful for them and their willingness to work with these new challenges this year. Thank you to all of the CCUSD teachers and staff for all their hard work over the summer and in this past week. The time and effort you have all put into making this work for our students and family is seen and appreciated. Thank you also in advance to the board, Dr. Burdick, and all of the CCUSD administration for continuing to follow the AZDHS guidelines and metrics for reopening safely. That is the end of that comment. And the last comment, President Hill, is from Kristen Puelko of Cave Creek. I am writing to implore the board to adhere to the guidelines provided by the health department before reopening. We are still in the middle of a pandemic and thoughts of opening are premature. While I would love to have my children back in the classroom, it isn't safe for teachers, students, or staff to do so at present. We all know that social distancing will not be possible in our classrooms. We also know that the air-conditioned rooms are more likely to spread the virus until meet the metrics established by the health department. Planning to open is problematic. I ask that the district commit to adhering to the safety and health measures provided by experts rather than listening to a vocal minority. This will help ensure parents feel confident in sending our children back to school without expectations of another shutdown, as we have already witnessed throughout Georgia. Thank you. President Hill, that's the end of the comments for item 3.3.
Okay, thank you. So item 3.3 is presented by Dr. Miller.
President Hill, governing board members, and Dr. Burdick. This presentation is by request of Member Hatcher, and I apologize that it's been so long since the request that we're just getting this to you. So below we have listed online resources and curriculum that's being utilized in this school year. Many of these things are repeat items that we have purchased in years past. Some are not, some are new. And there's a brief description of what each platform does. There is one in there. Illuminate Education is not actually curriculum, that's an assessment. I just wanted to mention that Achieve 3000 is an ELA product, and it services primarily kindergarten through 8th grade rather than through 12th. Brain Pop is new. That's online math curriculum that our teachers wanted to purchase for our new resource adoption. College Board, that's a renewal. Discovery Education, Science and Social Studies, that is for science K through 8, social studies 6 through 8, and some 5th and 6th resources. Dreambox is learning is math only for Spanish immersion at Desert Willow. Edgenuity, Edmentum, those are resources that are for our online offerings. Imagine Learning, Imagine Espanol, Imagine products they have all kinds of products. Primarily, we've used them for math. And it was determined this year that the middle school wanted to use Manga High rather than Imagine Math. So Imagine Math is just for elementary schools currently. ListenWise is a new product that's for listening comprehension. The Art of Education is a renewal for our art teachers, and then Vista Higher Learning, Listos, is an online language curriculum. and workbook for the Desert Willow Spanish Immersion grades 3 and 4. And with that product, we will probably be looking at next year adding a couple more grade levels. So a couple of questions were asked. The purpose of each of these platforms, and I hope that was descriptive for you. And also how we determine what we're going to purchase. And it's a variety of ways. Sometimes it's based on the teachers recommending it. Sometimes it's based on administration recommending. Sometimes it's based on that's all there is for that program. For instance, with the AP products, it's a single source provider. So there's no other provider to get that product. Just Discovery Education is similar. And we listen to our teachers, listen to our administrators at our buildings. And for instance, we changed from Imagine Math at the middle school because the teachers preferred to have another product. Other questions that were asked were, can parents view and can board members view? And absolutely anyone can view them. Most of these are available through Clever, which is a single sign-on. And so when students have a login and they sign in, they're able to access whatever is grade level appropriate for that student. So this is just a presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions that you might have.
I have a question for clarification.
Okay.
On this list, it says that Edmentum is the online curriculum for K-12, but I thought at the last board meeting, we were told that the online curriculum was Edgenuity.
Yes, Member Busby, we did purchase Edmentum for K-12, and our Academy of Excellence is a K-12 school. Currently for this school year, we're encouraging all of the high school students to remain at Cactus Shadows where they'll be using Edgenuity. But if we did have an outlier, if we had a student that for whatever reason did not want to attend Cactus Shadows for online, for distance, they wanted to go to say like a Primavera, we would want to be able to keep that student. And so we would be using Edmentum if they were in the Academy of Excellence. So probably the next question might be, well, didn't we pay for seats for the high school students? And yes, we did pay for seats, and that money will be kind of comped, if you will, for the additional elementary seats that we didn't pay for. We only paid for $250 for elementary. So they will comp us on with that funding. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments?
No, thank you for this.
Okay.
I have a, oh, I'm sorry. I just have a quick comment, and maybe I missed something with the public comments, and I'm the first one to appreciate that at the time that the public has sent their thoughts in. But we listened to, I believe, 19 comments, but none of those were specific to these agenda items.
Yeah. Can someone speak to that?
Sure, it's a little off topic, but I understand why Member Brown is asking. So when somebody sends in an item to speak to, or if they're in person and want to speak to an item, they decide which item they want to speak to, and we do not censor whether or not it actually speaks to the item or not.
Okay, because I would have thought the bulk of those comments discussing back to school dates should have just been under just the general public comment section, not agenda specific.
So Member Brown, we have not had the just general comments since we've been online. They've been speaking to an actual individual item. So some folks are being creative in which item they want to speak to.
Yes, okay. And like I said, I appreciate the emails that are coming in, especially it gives us a chance to get the comments from the public, especially the ones that have also sent links to different studies and different news reports. That's been good. I mean, I know all of the board members, I'm sure we're reading everything we can every day.
And
It's,
Member Brown, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, and I'm only going to say this one time. We are veering off the topic, which is online resources, curriculum, and presentation. I know that the public can be off topic, but the governing board cannot.
okay.
I appreciate your question, Member Brown, because that needed some clarification. So thank you for asking. Do we have any other comments on 3.3? Okay. Item 4, do I have a motion to approve action consent as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Member Brown? Are you muted? Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say, Member Brown? I cut only the back end of it.
I am voting aye.
Okay, thank you. Busby?
Aye.
Hatcher?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Rich?
Aye.
Sorry, guys. For item 5, old business, Ms. Gatto, do we have any comments for any of the old business items?
No, we don't, President Hill.
Okay. Then item 5.1, revision to check and bank signers for 2020-2021, presented by Mr. Leedy.
Thank you, President Hill, members of the board, Dr. Burdick. Governing board policy DGA requires all signatory for checking accounts to be approved and authorized by the board. Attached are the revised check signers being recommended for approval and authorization for the 2021 school year. Also listed are the recommendations for check writers and account reconcilers. This item was previously approved by the governing board on June 8th, 2020, and is being revised due to employee changes. If you have any questions, I can answer those for you.
Yeah, we usually discuss after we have a motion. So do you have a recommendation, Mr. Leedy?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
That's okay.
that's my job, right? Yeah. The administration would recommend that the governing board take the following action: to move that the governing board approve and authorize the revision to the check and bank signers for 2021 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Rich?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Member Hatcher?
Aye.
Busby?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Item 5.2, revision to designation of administrators to authorize emergency procurement for 2020-2021, presented by Mr. Leedy.
Thank you, President Hill, members of the board, Dr. Burdick. Emergency repairs are sometimes needed and occasionally exceed thresholds for procurement. In order to prevent violation of procurement regulations that cause an after-the-fact purchase or violation, districts are instructed to designate individuals authorized to make emergency procurements. The district would like to designate Dr. Debbie Burdick and Mr. Tim Leedy as individuals who are authorized to make emergency procurement on behalf of the district. This item was previously approved by the governing board on June 8th, 2020, and is being revised due to employee changes. And the administration would recommend that the governing board take the following action: move that the governing board approve the designation of Dr. Debbie Burdick and Mr. Tim Leedy as individuals authorized to make emergency procurement on behalf of the district for 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
Is there a dollar amount that gets attached to this? Or is this just for who the designated people are?
President Hill, Member Busby, this is just a blanket authorization in the event that there are emergency procurements. So there's no dollar value attached to this.
Okay, thank you.
As a footnote to that, though, if it were above $100,000 at the next governing board member meeting subsequent to an emergency procurement, an item would be brought forward as a report to the board that we had exercised this provision.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Brown,
Aye.
Busby,
Aye.
Hatcher,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Rich.
Aye.
Item 5.3, revised resolution for fiscal agents for 2020-2021, presented by Mr. Leedy.
Thank you, President Hill, members of the board, Dr. Burdick. With the signing of the attached resolution, the governing board establishes Mr. Tim Leedy, Chief Financial Officer, and Dr. Debbie Burdick, Superintendent, as the district statutory and fiscal agents for the 2021 school year. This item was previously approved by the governing board on June 8th, 2020, and is being revised due to an employee change. CCUSD policy provides for the superintendent to sign purchase orders or to delegate this function. And therefore, the administration would recommend that the governing board take the following action. Move that the governing board approve the revised resolution authorizing Mr. Tim Leedy and Dr. Debbie Burdick as the district statutory and fiscal agents for the 2021 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Rich,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Hatcher,
Aye.
Busby,
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Item 6, new business. Ms. Scotto, do we have any comments for any of the items under our new business?
No, President Hill, no comments.
Okay. Then item 6.1, approval of qualified evaluators, presented by Dr. Miller.
President Hill, governing board members, and Dr. Burdick. Every year we bring to you our qualified evaluators for classroom teachers and other certificated non-administrative staff members. And this is for the 2020-21 school year. Each individual has attended training relevant to the district assessment instrument for evaluating certified personnel. 2 additions to this list that you've seen before is Ms. Caroline Lynch and Mr. Tony Vining. Administration would recommend that the governing board approve the 2020-2021 school year qualified evaluators as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Brown,
Aye.
Busby,
Aye.
Hatcher,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Rich.
Aye.
Item 6.2, agreement between Public Consulting Group, Inc., PCG, and Cave Creek Unified School District number 93 for the Medicaid school-based claiming program, presented by Mr. Leedy.
Thank you, President Hill. Members of the board, Dr. Burdick. Cave Creek Unified School District participates in the Medicaid school-based claiming program. This agreement allows PCG to coordinate and adjudicate for the qualifying coverage services we provide to Medicaid eligible students for specific health services, which are direct services and administrative activities. This agreement is effective July 1, 2020, and will automatically renew every 12-month period unless earlier terminated in accordance with the agreement. The administration would recommend that the governing board take the following action: to move that the governing board approve the agreement between Public Consulting Group Incorporated and Cave Creek Unified School District as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, I muted myself. Any discussion or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Rich,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Member Hatcher,
Aye.
Member Busby,
Aye.
Member Brown.
Aye.
Item 6.3, elementary, middle, and high school lunch price increase for 2020-2021, presented by Mr. Leedy.
Thank you, President Hill. Members of the board, Dr. Burdick. The Child Nutrition Department routinely evaluates lunch prices and determines if there is a need to increase prices. Several areas were considered in order to recommend lunch prices for the 2021 school year. These include food costs, new guidance with COVID-19, in compliance with an updated USDA nutritional regulations. The last time lunch prices were increased for the elementary and middle schools was in 2007. The last time lunch prices were increased for the high school was in 2013. And in order for the Child Nutrition Department to remain self-sufficient and provide the services necessary for the students of CCUSD, the department is requesting to increase lunch prices by 25 cents for all grade levels. And as you can see in the agenda item, lunch prices will increase for elementary from $2.25 to $2.50, middle school from $2.50 to $2.75, high school from $2.75 to $3. And these prices are compatible with surrounding lunch prices. PV are $2.50, elementary for $2.50, middle school for $2.75, high school $3. Deer Valley elementary is $2.95, middle school is $2.95, and the high school $3.50. And Scottsdale Unified is $2.85 for elementary, middle school $3.10, and high school $3.10. So the Child Nutrition Department relies on revenue from school lunches to provide selections of healthy meal choices, stay self-sufficient, provide salaries to child nutrition employees, and provide efficient services to all students in the district. The slight increase in lunch prices will enable the Child Nutrition Department to continue to maintain programs of high quality. The administration would therefore recommend that the governing board take the action to move that the governing board approve the elementary, middle, and high school lunch price increases as presented.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Brown,
Aye.
Busby,
Aye.
Hatcher,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Rich.
aye,
Item 6.4, Rockalingua, I'm hoping I said that right, presented by Dr. Miller.
You said it perfectly.
Yay.
President Hill, governing board members, and Dr. Burdick. Rockalingua is a product for the Spanish Flex. That actually should be capital FLEX. That stands for the Foreign Language Experience Program. Those are the students in our elementary schools who are not in an immersion program. So that's at Black Mountain, Desert Sun, and Desert Willow elementary schools. So this is actually a resource for the teacher to use. It is not a per student online platform that students will actually get into as they do the other programs. So the funding source is from M&O. It's $897, so approximately $300 per teacher for this product. Administration would recommend that the governing board approve the purchase of Rockalingua as presented.
So
So-
moved.
Okay, we got Janet, I think got in first. Scott, you want to be the second?
Yeah, I'll be the second.
I mean, that was you, right? Sorry, I was
Yeah.
looking. Okay. Any discussion or questions?
I do have one question. Are we not doing the Flex for French at Desert Sun anymore?
We actually at Desert Sun, they are doing Spanish.
Spanish?
So that's the only school that we say is a trilingual school.
Okay.
So they have French immersion, and then we have a Spanish flex teacher there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I went online and looked at this program, and I love it because I remember the days when I would take my kids to Flex and come back to my classroom and construct sentences and phrases in Spanish because they didn't understand it. It was a little more piecey. This, they have the entire sentence. Well, you know the program. I just think it's excellent. So it's really exciting to have that in there for them.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, sorry.
yes. I was just wondering what kind of input process you have before approving new materials from the teachers. Do you get input from them, or is it generated by them? Not only for this program, but generally speaking.
Yes, member Rich, it's a variety of ways, for different things. So to speak to Rockwell Lingua, the teachers have been using a free version and it has limitations when it's free. And so they have requested this. And so we're moving forward with it based on their request. It just depends. I know we've had software in the past, and I know member Hatcher would remember My Access. And the way that was originally requested is we had about 3 teachers who had come onto this platform for teaching writing, and they really liked it, used it a lot, and then it kind of spread. And then the next teacher said, I want that. And then we ended up using it district-wide. And so, but some things like the AP, for instance, there's no other choice. So there's not a lot of selection. With a lot of our immersion programs and our language programs, there's very limited resources out there. So usually whenever there is something that we find and the teachers take a look at it, they jump on it. So
Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Member Rich?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Hatcher?
Aye.
Busby?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Item 6.5, intergovernmental agreement with Pima County JTED for Arizona CTE Curriculum Consortium, presented by Mr. Leedy.
Thank you, President Hill, members of the board, Dr. Burdick. Attached is a copy of the IGA between Pima County JTED and Cave Creek Unified School District. This IGA is for CCUSD to join the Arizona CTE Curriculum Consortium to create, maintain, and revise instructional materials to be used by members for career and technical education. This agreement has been updated and shall be effective upon arrival by the approval by the governing board of both parties for the and it's supposed to be 2021 school year, and shall renew annually for a total of 5 years. This agreement has been reviewed by our district and signed by our district attorney. And the administration would recommend that the governing board take action to move that the governing board approve the IGA between Pima County JTED and Cave Creek Unified District as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
I just have a question as to membership fee. And what is that, if you know right offhand?
President Hill,
If you don't.
yeah, Ms. Hatcher, I don't know. I couldn't determine what the fee was. I saw in item 8A3 where it says each member shall pay the same per student amount as a membership fee, but I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. I can get that information and get it back to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Brown?
Aye.
Busby?
Aye.
Hatcher?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Rich?
Aye.
Item 6.6, government obligation contract for lease purchase of school bus for the CT or CTED program, presented by Mr. Leedy.
Thank you, President Hill, members of the board, Dr. Burdick. The CTED program at Cactus Shadows is requesting approval to lease purchase an 84-passenger school bus for transporting CTE students to the East Valley Institute of Technology in Mesa and continuing on to the East Valley EVIT satellite campus in Chandler. Currently, the school year 2021 EVIT enrollment is currently at 82 students. And as an update that I just got today, rather than 76, there are 63 students. The last number that we had that were requesting or requiring district transportation. This request is based on last year's challenges for bus availability once the face-to-face year begins and the current district inventory being fully allocated. As EVIT was added in 1920 school year, we are recommending a lease for 3 years with an option to buy at the end. This allows the district the option to opt out if either demand for EVIT declines or we are able to move several EVIT programs to a satellite campus at dams, therefore decreasing transportation demand. The total cost of the bus over the lease period, if we were to buy the entire bus, is $170,930.54. And the lease payments for 3 years total $112,504.26. The district has the option to purchase the bus at the end of the 3-year lease for a buyout of $67,000. And there, just as a footnote, there was no additional bus driver that was required to be hired to staff this bus for EVIT. So the bus is financed through Kansas State Bank, and the financing was on the Mojave contract. And the administration recommend that the governing board take action to move that the governing board approve the government obligation contract for lease purchase of a school bus for the CTED program as presented.
So moved.
So moved.
You came in late, Jim. You're second. Any questions or comments?
Is that bus only designated for the use of transportation to EVIT solely during the course of this lease?
President Hill, Ms. Hatcher, it will be dedicated for this, but I've got Mr. King on the line here, and he can respond to that question for you.
Yes, Dr. Burdick, members of the board, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, the bus will be solely used for EVIT transportation Monday through Friday or every day that EVIT has school that they're in session. It could be used on a non-day or field trip situation for Saturday scenario, but it is dedicated to the transportation of EVIT students when they are in school.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Where is the funding for this coming from?
President Hill, Ms. Busby, this is coming from, we're having a loan through Kansas State Bank. It's a financing that I've used before. It's a loan basically for they front the money for the bus, and then we pay them the lease payments of, I believe it's about $37,000 a year per the agenda item in here. Let me see.
And Member Busby, are you asking where any of the money that we're paying comes from?
Yeah, where is our money coming?
Our money comes
Our money-
from the EVIT grant that they
Right.
give us money back. None of the money comes from the district M&O. Remember when we joined EVIT, they said they would be giving us dollars back for our CTE program. And so those are the dollars that will be used for this.
Okay. Now, what are I assume our other buses are not available to be used for this?
Dr. Burdick, members of the board, that we have another bus that was used last year. The enrollment has about doubled, almost tripled for this year, and it requires 2 buses to transport all the students there. Last year, we were using a bus and a van at their satellite campus down out of Gateway Airport area in the Chandler Gilbert area. This year's enrollment will require 2 full buses, trying to keep with our CDC and space on seatings for physical distancing. So we'll need 2 buses in this situation. This route has the most miles and most time on a bus, and we want to make sure we have the most newest equipment we can have to transport these students. If we put a different bus on it, it would be taken out of the system that we're using now for routes when we have students back in session. And it would take from our spare depletion, which we only have a few spares also.
And we don't need another driver?
Well, pardon me, the bus driver and the van driver that we had last year, that individual is also a certified bus driver. And so he'll slip into the bus situation of transporting. So it won't cost us another head count in this situation. We just wanted to get another bus to transport the students.
Okay. Mr. Leedy, you had mentioned you worked with the bank before. I'm assuming that was at a previous school district?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve as presented. Member Rich?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Member Hatcher?
Aye.
Member Busby?
Aye.
Member Brown?
Aye.
Item 6.7, approval of emergency procurement to repair a 500-ton chiller at the central plant, presented by Mr. Leedy. You have been very busy tonight, Mr. Leedy.
Yes, I have. Thank you, President Hill, members of the board, Dr. Burdick. On July 28th, 2020, the 500-ton chiller that services all of Cactus Shadows High School was required a repair of the inductor or the output filter. The district completed a building renewal grant application for the school facilities board because the chiller was malfunctioning. The district received authorization from administration to fund the repair, and this repair was deemed as an emergency since the temperatures were above 115 degrees during that week. It is the primary cooling system for the high school, and with the chiller not working, this posed a health and safety issue for employees. The chiller was installed at the North Central plant by Unitech in August of 2015. And on December 14th, 2016, the motor was replaced by Johnson Controls through Unitech. Johnson Controls replaced the output filter in July of 19. And in February 2020, Johnson Controls diagnosed the chiller with a bad logic board and was replaced by Johnson Controls. After the logic board installation, Johnson Controls diagnosed a bad output filter for the second time. The second output filter failed in February of 2020. The chiller is currently completely down and must be fixed since it's the primary cooling system for the high school. In keeping with R72-1056 and R72-1057, an emergency procurement will be made as a result of the chiller not working on an occupied campus in July, which poses a health and safety issue. The repair will be funded by the school facilities board, who will assist with the scope of work and provide oversight of the project. The procurement will be limited to the services necessary to satisfy the emergency need. This vendor was selected as they installed the unit, and the district hopes to have it repaired as part of the warranty on the chiller. The school facilities board, through emergency action, approved this project on July 30th and awarded Cave Creek Unified District $22,076 in building renewal grant funding. And this there shows the building renewal grant funding source. So the administration would therefore recommend that the board move to approve the project of the 500-ton chiller repair for a total amount of $22,075.79 and award the contract to Johnson Controls per their contract as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
If we approve this, will this be ready for opening in September when we hope to go face-to-face? Will the school be, will this be in place for the school to be chilled at that point?
President Hill, Member Hatcher, I would like to ask Mr. Santina to jump in on that question.
Member Hatcher, it should. Right now we are running on our smaller chiller, so there is air flowing to all the spaces. But yes, once we can get the vendor, the part in the vendor's hands, we'll get them out and they will put it in. So it's a pretty quick repair. They've done it in the past within a couple of days. So it should be up and running before then.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Santina, this was just installed in August of 15, and we've already had 4 or 5 different repairs. Did we get a lemon?
That's what the SFP is looking for. So instead of fighting for it, they're going to pay for this repair to get it up and running, and then they're going to look into the lemon issue.
I know we use our air conditioning a lot. My house is the AC always runs, but this seems almost a little excessive for what would have been a new unit to have this much go wrong.
Agreed. And it does, it cools the Fine Arts Center, Desert Arroyo, my building, and the high school. So it's got a lot to cool, but it should last more than a few years.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Brown,
Aye.
Busby,
Aye.
Hatcher,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Rich.
Aye.
Item 6.8, first and final reading of policy IHA, Basic Instructional Program, presented by Dr. Miller.
President Hill, governing board members, and Dr. Burdick, this is a policy change from ASBA, Arizona School Boards Association, based on a change in law. House Bill 2625 has added ARS 1-319 and amended ARS 15-203 and added ARS 15-710.01 relating to civics. So you can see the changes that were made to our basic instruction program policy is on the last page. It's underlined. So September 25th in each year shall be observed as Sandra Day O'Connor Civics Celebration Day, which is not a legal holiday. On Sandra Day O'Connor Civics Celebration Day, each public school in the state shall dedicate the majority of the school day to civics education. If Sandra Day O'Connor Civics Celebration Day falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or any other day when a public school is not in session, the preceding or following school day shall be observed in the public school as the, and I believe we should change that to not say it's not a holiday, to say as the celebration day, so that it's in line with the paragraph before. So we can check on that with ASBA. Superintendent's directed to emphasize the use of the resources developed by the State Board of Education relating to civics education, which align with the academic standards and social studies pursuant to ARS 15-701 and 15-701.01. Administration would recommend that the governing board approve policy IHA, Basic Instructional Program, as a first and final as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? I just want a clarification. I mean, this was passed by the state legislature, so we're pretty much going to do, not that I disagree, but I mean, we're going to do this. This is a state mandate.
That's correct, President Hill.
Any other questions or comments?
Do we have these materials available? Are they going to be presented to the board before they're, presented for instruction to the students?
President Hill, Member Rich, I have been looking for the materials that the State Board of Education has, and we will continue to look for these materials. What I did find today was a super rough outline. I had looked last week too. It talked about some things that we could start doing about the background of Sandra Day O'Connor. It's still very in rough draft form. And then it gives different activities you can do with different grade levels about her background and her being the first woman that was appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court, and about President Reagan appointed her as the first female justice in September of 1981. Talks about having guest speakers in, such as judges and attorneys, and students in older grades possibly participating in mock trials and things like that. But it's not a definite curriculum yet. And so I would be happy to get that to you. I know that this is coming up pretty soon. And I'm sure that there's a little bit of leeway with the state about what all we specifically have to do on that day. They really just want it to be heavy in civics education. And so it's not really directive that it has to all be about Sandra Day O'Connor. So, but as we get more information, I'd be happy to share that with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so really the teachers can use the curriculum they have that's civic related, that relates to the civic standards yeah.
Absolutely. And Member Hatcher, I think that the one thing that they want to make sure is through the teaching of this too, is to point out that she was the first female justice, Supreme Court appointed, and then making just different studies with the kids around topics like that. And then, like you were saying about basic civics instruction. And we already have curriculum in place with our social studies. And so I think they just want that day to be really heavy in civics minded education.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Member Rich?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Hatcher?
Aye.
Busby?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Item 7, we have no future agenda items. Item 8, the upcoming calendar.
Thank you, President Hill, governing board members. You can see that future agenda items, we addressed the online presentations this evening that Dr. Miller did earlier. And we will be having an evaluation of school board with a facilitator at the next board meeting on August 24th. And then at the bottom, you can see the disposition dates of items that were brought forward by the board. Our actual calendar dates at this point are CCUSD Virtual Inspire Excellence Awards are on August 26th still. We have our fingers crossed that will still be happening. Labor Day, the district office is closed on September 7th. First day face-to-face learning right now is slated to be on September 8th. And Legendary Teacher Day is on September 24th. And we should probably add our newest not holiday, but celebration for Sandra Day O'Connor Civics Day on September 25th. That is all I have to report.
Okay. Item 9, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Member Brown?
Aye.
Busby?
Aye, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Hatcher?
Aye.
Hill? Oh, I'm Hill. I'm an aye. Rich?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.